We're going to continue to talk about the fall of the Roman Empire. Next, we're going to be looking into the aspect of foreign invasion specifically regarding one of the things that really helped to weaken Rome. Okay, so foreign invasions. So Rome faced attacks from the Germanic peoples who lived east of the Rhine and north of the Danube rivers. The legions on the frontiers were successful in holding back the invaders when Rome was powerful. That's a very key thing to remember here, guys. When Rome was powerful, they were able to hold these invaders back. But as we've learned, the Western Roman Empire in particular was not as powerful after a while. Some of the Germanic people that lived along the borders actually learned Roman ways and became allies of the Romans. This is back when Rome was powerful. If you can't take them over, maybe get to be a little bit more like them, learn more about them, be their friends instead. But starting around 80 or CE 200, wars in East Asia set off a chain of events that would eventually overwhelm Rome thousands of miles to the west. And this is a very interesting kind of story. So thousands of miles away, some wars were going to happen that was going to impact Rome way later. So the wars over in East Asia sent the Huns, a nomadic people. Remember, we went over what a nomad is, guys. Remember, a nomad is a person that moves around a lot. The wars sent the Huns, a nomadic people, migrating across Central Asia. And about 150 years later, the Huns reached Eastern Europe in 350. So they were skilled riders, they were horseback riders, they were very skilled at this, and they fought fierce battles to dislodge the Germanic peoples in their paths. So they fought very, very heavy and fierce battles against the people that Rome had been holding back for a while. So the Visigoths, the Ostrogoths, and other Germanic peoples crossed the Roman territory seeking safety. So because the Huns are coming into this territory, these Germanic peoples start coming back into Roman territory, looking for a place to go. So these men who were armed with spears, these Germanic peoples, they moved in groups, along with women and children, carts and herds, wanting to settle on Roman land. So they move in these big groups with women, with children, with animals, with carts. They're looking for a place to go. Because as the Huns are coming in, they're making it more and more difficult for these people to be able to exist where they were existing before. And with the empire in decline, the Roman legions were starting to have difficulty stopping the invading people. Remember, at a time, Rome was able to hold these people back. But after a while, Rome wasn't able to do that anymore. And these people who are getting pushed by the Huns are moving into Roman territory. And under pressure from attacks, the Roman Empire starts surrendering land. The Roman Empire is no longer at its peak anymore. They are now starting to lose land. First, Britain goes, then France, and then Spain. And this is an interesting thing to remember, guys. Spain is a pretty big concession because that was a big conquest in the fight against the Carthaginians. And now they've lost that. They've lost Britain, they've lost France, they've lost Spain. They've lost these really big territories. And it was only a matter of time until these foreign invaders marched into Italy and took over Rome itself. And if you can see here, you can see a map of invasions of the Roman Empire from about 100 to 500 CE or 80. You can see the Huns right here in the green, moving through here. And then you can see the other peoples that are invading and causing problems for Rome as well. And if you can tell just by this chart, and you can see it's color coordinated here, so if you want to follow these nomadic peoples and how they were impacting Rome, just take a look here. Rome is having a lot of issues from a lot of sides in regards to outside invaders. It really is becoming a huge issue. Then they lose more and more territory. Britain goes, France goes, Spain goes. How much of Western Rome, the Western Roman Empire, is left eventually? It is getting to be smaller and smaller and weaker and weaker. So let's talk about Rome's eventual defeat. So in 378, a Roman army tried to turn back Visigoths at Adrianople, and it suffered a stunning defeat, a huge defeat, a defeat that seems very significant of Rome's continued existence, in the sense that it's showing that Rome's power is fading, and new waves of invaders were hitting Rome's borders, especially in the west. So remember, the Eastern Roman Empire, the eastern side of it, was more powerful than the west at this point, and the west is really getting impacted hard. In 410, the Visigoth general Alaric overran Italy and plundered Rome. So they got into Rome and took riches and valuables from Rome, which really heavily impacted them. Vandals, they moved through Gaul and Spain and into North Africa. So now North African territory is being impacted as well. So over time, more and more Germanic peoples are taking over the Western Roman Empire, but this was not the worst part yet for the Romans. In 434, the Hun leader, and you may have heard of him before, Attila the Hun, he embarked on a campaign of conquest across much of Europe. He was trying to take over as much of Europe as possible. And Christians, remember Rome was officially Christian at this point, called him the scourge of God because they thought his attacks were a punishment for the sins of humankind. That is just how significant this was and how powerful his attacks were. This is a portrait of what Attila may have looked like. Sometimes he's shown kind of bearded, but he did have a nomadic look to him as opposed to the Romans, as you can see from his appearance. So Attila died in 453, and even though his empire collapsed soon afterward, the Hun invasion sent more Germanic peoples fleeing into the Roman Empire. So Rome does eventually manage to defeat Attila, guys. You guys are going to watch an Edpuzzle about this soon. And when he dies, his empire falls apart, but that invasion results in more Germanic people going into the Roman Empire because of the Huns moving in. And then in 476, Odoacer, a Germanic leader, removed the emperor in Rome. So this Germanic leader goes into Rome and removes the emperor. The Western Roman side of the Roman Empire is effectively over at this point. Later historians refer to that event as the fall of Rome, but by that time, Rome had already lost many of its territories and Roman power in the West had ended. Next, please work on Edpuzzle Attila. Thank you, guys.